Hey, welcome to Sunday. Glad you're here. We are going to do something similar to this a little bit later in the week. In the middle of the week, we're going to have another installment of our new segment we have on the channel called Questions, Coffee, and Cars. If you haven't watched one of these yet, you know, if you've watched some of our videos, or most of our review videos, halfway through we stop and do questions, coffee, and cars. Well, we decided to do a standalone video on that occasionally, and we're going to do another one this week. So keep an eye out for that on the channel. Also coming up this week, we're going to have the review of the Ford Maverick EcoBoost, not the hybrid. We did the hybrid earlier, beginning of the summer. Absolutely love that vehicle. The EcoBoost is a different animal, so that's coming up. And some great news. Thank you to Audi downtown Vancouver. They've been so generous to us getting us cars. It's really tricky getting Audi cars out here on the West Coast for some reason. Well, I know the reason. I'm not going to share it. But they've been great getting us vehicles. And we are getting the Audi e-tron, the Q4. That's cool, right? Just want to make sure my computer volume is down. Yeah, so we're getting the Q4 e-tron this week. So that video will be coming out on Saturday. So we're really stoked. I think well, I don't want to prejudge it because I haven't driven it yet. But I kind of like the vibe that Audi's going with that electric car. So welcome to our Sunday show. Don't forget CanadaDrives.ca. If you're looking for used cars, you can go online, you can shop online, you can get qualified online, you buy the car online. Everything is done online, and then they bring a trailer to your home, often the very next day, and deliver the car to you. So if you are shopping for used, that's the one you want to go to. If you're looking for a brand new car, then you want to go to carcostcanada.com and use the promo code MOTORMOUTH. Become an expert member. Then you can find out exactly what the dealer paid for that car. That's why it's called Car Cost. You get the real cost of the car that the dealer paid. So say you're looking for a Honda Civic, you know exactly what the dealer paid for that specific trim. So it's a good service. All right, so that's what's going on. A couple of quick pictures here. We didn't get a ton from last week, but we're going to do them. This first one is from Herman, who bought his very first new car. It's a 2023 Eclipse Cross. Looking good. I like it in black. It's interesting. Oh, sorry, I'm going to turn that one off. Hang on a second here. Andrea and I were in Toronto with Mitsubishi when we had a chance to do a quick walk-around video of the Outlander PHEV, and they gave us an Eclipse Cross to drive for a day, and I've always enjoyed them every time I drive them. This is a nice one. This is Eric in Montreal, a longtime viewer, regular contributor to the live show. Eric sold his 996 Turbo at the beginning of the summer, I think it was. Well, what has he done? He's gone and got a 996 Turbo S, and it's all murdered out in black. So that's a pretty sweet ride. My goodness. Well done. This one is from John with his 2005 Mercedes-Benz SLK 350 with the Brabus package. That's looking good. And I think we have that's Eric's. I screwed it up now. There's one more picture. I'm trying to find it. There we go. This is from Mark, who has a funny story. He sold his Grand Cherokee and they got this used Kia Sedona van, but they love the van so much because, especially his wife loves it because it's just so practical. So that is pretty funny that, you know, you trade in an SUV and then you get a van, and then I've got to figure out what I'm doing here wrong. Okay, I think that's... Oh my God, what have I done? There! That was like way too hard. Sorry. I apologize for the technical difficulties. All right. So we've done all of that. If you want to get a picture in, Promise I'll try and be a little more slick with the production next week. You can send it to Zack@motormouth.ca, ZACK@motormouth.ca, or ZACK@motormouth.ca if you're from the United States. It still gets to me. All right. Hey, we're off to a great start. We already have a super chat on our hands. If you really just have to have a question answered, the nice thing about the super chats is it just highlights it for me. You pay a small fee, contribute to the channel, and we get it identified. So here's a perfect example. Our first super chat. Bonsoir. This is from Jean. You got to tell me how am I pronouncing it wrong? RDX 2019 Tech Pack with 73,000 kilometers, or a 2021 CRV Sport 13,000 kilometers, both for 38.5. Okay, you know, a mileage definitely accounts for something, for sure. So you're talking about a car that has got 73,000 kilometers and one that's only got 13,000 kilometers. I would always go for the one with less kilometers on it. Another thing you have to remember is the RDX, as much as I love that generation with the 3.5 liter V6 with the conventional automatic transmission, really a bulletproof example. Once it goes over 100,000 kilometers, and that's roughly 25,000 kilometers from now, it's really going to devalue the car. So what year is the CRV? 2021. I'm not overly enamored with the CRV. It's a perfectly capable vehicle. But I would go for the newer example for sure. But that sounds like a lot of money for a 2021. So shop around. But if you're asking me between those two, I think that's what I would take. I would take the newer one. We have another super chat here. Thank you very much. No question, just supporting the channel. I'm down for that. All right, let's go up to the top here and see what we have today. Sinjab was first last week, I think, is first this week. From Montreal, Quebec, any plans for getting your hands on an X330E? Purchase rebate is $2,500. By the way, the provincial rebate in Quebec for the Bolt is $7,000. I'm telling you, the Bolt is the best deal in the electric car game, period. If you're looking for something inexpensive that's electrified. Well, I'll tell you, we've driven the X330E, before they did the facelift. So that would be 2 years ago. So we'll try and get our hands on one. But yes, it's been about 2 years, maybe not a full 2 years since we've driven one. But the only difference is that it's got the facelift. I think it got a little bit more range as well. I'll try, put it that way. Hi, Zach. What's your favorite generation of... What is your favorite generation of the 2023 Subaru Outback? Well, they're all the same generation. Are you asking which one I like to drive? I would say if you can afford it, get the turbo. Just because the power difference between the regular 2.5 liter and the turbo is like night and day. It just makes it a much easier vehicle to live with. The interesting thing is the Wilderness Edition that has the smaller wheels but the bigger Geolander tires on them. They actually rides very nicely on pavement. You would think with the all-terrain tire that it would be kind of rougher on regular pavement. It's actually very competent. And the nice thing about the Outback and Subarus generally is they're fairly quiet. So I say just, the reality is get the one you can actually buy. Another Subaru question. That's from Julie. Any news from Subaru about hybrids or PHEV in the coming future? Well, we were with Subaru a couple of weeks ago driving the new Outback. We just had a question on that, and we had the product planner there, and we had a couple of glasses of wine at dinner, and I always pry him for information, and he's very good at not telling me. But I can tell you that they just flew to Japan to go and look at something, and he wouldn't tell me what it was, but believe they're going to have something at the LA Auto Show. So we'll have to wait and see. But no, I don't have any information for you. But eventually they're going to have to do it because you just have to if you want to be in the game. What's your ideal engine and horsepower you really need for a midsize SUV? Also, what do you think of Chinese brands like GAC Motors? Cheers. Well, I think the Chinese eventually will make it into North America, especially if they can come with an ultra inexpensive electric cars. We haven't seen that really surface yet. We're seeing some cars made in China, like the Polestar, arriving in North America. We have Buicks that are made in China that are here. We used to have Honda Fits that were made in China that were sold here. So I think my prediction is what's going to happen is a Chinese-made electric car will be sold as a white label product, meaning it's made in China, and then someone will buy the rights to the vehicle and sell it with their badge on it. You might remember, or you might not remember, back in the 80s and the 90s, Mitsubishi used to sell their cars to Chrysler, and they were sold as Dodges, and they were really Mitsubishi Eclipses were sold as Dodge. I think they were Avengers back then. So yeah, they were Japanese made vehicles. So I could see it one day that one of these Chinese electric car brands will white label a product for a North American market. Okay. The ideal engine and horsepower for a midsize SUV. So I'm gonna say that this is a 3-row, 7-passenger vehicle. I would say right around 300 horsepower is ideal, especially when you've got it loaded, you've got luggage, you're going through the mountains, you want to pass a truck, all this sort of stuff. I would say around 300 horsepower. Most of them are right around there anyway. All right. We have another super chat, which I like. Thank you for that. Zach ordered a Telluride back in December 21. In October 2022, I was told they won't be making 2022 Telluride, and I'll be upgraded to 23, but the new terms, higher interest rates. Should I cancel the order and move on? Well, this is a personal decision, but you know that the new Telluride has been announced, and they will have stopped making the last model, and whatever allotment is being fulfilled, you're going to have to move on to the 2023. The problem is that they have all the power. They have all of the orders back ordered from people. You are not in, pardon the pun, the driver's seat on this. So if you don't like their terms, they don't care because they'll sell your allotment to somebody else, which is a shame, I know. So last week, someone was asking about what do you think is happening with the car market and the economy. And last week I said I haven't really seen any indications yet that things are starting to turn. I found an article, it was on CNBC, where they went through all the different elements of the auto industry. So the manufacturers, the dealers, and even the parts suppliers, and they're starting to see movement from supply constraints, meaning there's all of these supply issues that we've all been dealing with since COVID hit. Now what they're starting to see in some parts of the auto industry is a demand constraint, meaning people aren't asking for the product. So these things can flip rather quickly. There's still a huge pent-up demand for vehicles that haven't been made. Yours is a perfect example. You're waiting for a 2022 Telluride, and now they want to push you into 2023. So you and maybe millions of other people are still waiting for cars. So as much as the demand is maybe going to slow a little bit, I don't see things getting normalized unless we have a really protracted and deeper recession than most people are predicting. But so there you go. I think that it's a personal decision with this. Are you gonna just pick up stakes and move on to another company? Well, the thing is, I'll give you one piece of advice about the Telluride. If you bought the Telluride, even with the higher terms, you could drive it for a year, probably sell it for the same amount of money. There's no guarantees in life, and I'm not going to guarantee that, but you could probably drive it for a year and sell it a year later for pretty much what you paid for it, because the demand for Telluride is through the roof. So if you've got an allotment for that car, it probably wouldn't be a bad idea to get it. That's just the way I would roll. But it comes down to your personal finances. If you don't feel comfortable, please don't do it. Hey, Rye Clark is here. We haven't had Rye on the live show for a while. Nice to see you, Rye. Good to have you back. David Carey is here. Hey, David, with a super chat. Thank you very much for that. Which would you choose for a retired couple traveling U.S. and Canada? Audi A8, Lexus LS, or Genesis G90? Yeah, that's a tough one. I watched an Adam Sandler movie on the weekend, and now all weekend I've been talking like that. I'm driving Andrea crazy. It was some stupid Halloween I don't know. We were on Netflix and it popped up, and then we watched it. It's Adam Sandler in the Halloween movie. It was terrible. It was a terrible movie, but we watched it. So no, we can't be talking like this. Which one would I choose? Audi A8, Lexus LS, Genesis G90. I wouldn't pick any of them. You know what you need? If you want the best car for a long road trip across North America, Porsche Panamera. Absolutely, hands down. That's the one I would pick. And then next to that, I think I would go Audi. Just the way I roll. There you go. But a Panamera, if it's too expensive, you could buy a used one. Panamera GTS, oh my goodness. Now that is a car. I love the Panamera. A lot of people didn't like the Cayenne when it first came out, and then I was one of them. And then I ended up owning 3 of them. We have 2 currently. And then when the Panamera came out, everybody didn't like that. But I always say to anybody, people who don't like the Panamera have never driven one. And as soon as you drive one, you're like, oh. So if you can afford it, maybe not new, maybe look for one that's 2 or 3 years old. Now that is a nice car. KPKP, our local guy here. Hey Zach, went to the local Honda dealer to pick up a new Civic Si. Finalized price. The same this time tried to pay cash. Sales manager pushed back so hard. Me and my sis-in-law left. Cash not king. Well, I don't know why you would just not push back and say you want to buy the car. Here's my piece of advice. Anytime you're going in and working with a dealer, whether you're dealing with the salesman, the sales manager, or the business office, until you get to the very end, when you have to disclose what you want to do, then you tell them whether you're going to buy the car, you're going to finance the car, or you're going to lease the car. But don't get them all the way to the end, and then they say, well, what are the terms? Are you going to lease the car? Say, I'm just going to write you a check, and then so I don't understand why that would be an issue. I would go back to them and say, I want the car. I want to pay you for the car. I can't see why they wouldn't do that. Any insights on the new sales tax for private car sales? So this is for British Columbia. In British Columbia, they had a problem. The government obviously had a problem. They changed the sales tax. So instead of you saying a declared amount, say I sell you a 10-year Honda Civic for $10,000, 10-year-old Honda Civic for $10,000. So you go there to license the car and you say, oh, what did you pay for the car? Oh, I only paid $6,000 for it. Oh, how come it's so cheap? Oh, it's my cousin gave me a good deal on it. Some BS story like that. So what they're trying to do to get around that is they're going to a market-based sales tax. So if you have a 10-year-old Honda Civic and you go in there and they say, well, you're saying you only paid $6,000 for the car, then they're going to market pricing, and they're saying, well, these cars are actually selling for this, which is kind of crappy because right now, what do we have? We have inflated prices on used cars. That means people are paying more, even though you maybe didn't get that. Maybe your cousin did sell you the car and gave you a good deal. So I'm not totally down with it, but we'll have to see. Good thing is I'm not buying a car anytime soon. But yeah, I mean, that's the problem. It's the golden rule. He who has the gold makes the rules, and the government, unfortunately, is the one that sets the rules, and we all have to abide by them. All right. I'm gonna find where I was a second ago. Sorry, everybody. Here's Carter saying, as a follow-up to last week's convo on channel subs, I guess we were talking about how many, because you hit 250,000 subs, Motormouth offers top-notch consumer advice through a presenter with years of TV experience, which many channels with higher subs lack. Well, thank you for that. We were talking about it last week because we did hit 250,000 subs. Thank you. And we just keep marching on. What are you going to do? You just keep pushing forward, and I keep on saying to Andrew, every month we get more subs. That's good. Now, some channels get way more than us, but I can't push water uphill. We can only do what we do. Here's Andrea saying, hi, Zach. Any word on when you and Andrew will be getting a Lexus RZ450E? Any news on the LFZ if it's close to actual production. I don't know about anything about the last one. The other one is, I think that's the full electric car. Is that the one you mean? The RZ 450E, is that the full EV based on the BZ4X? So production has started again, from what I understand, with the Toyota product. So if you're not aware, they had an issue with the hub at the front wheel. The wheels didn't fall off. That was the headline that everyone ran with. But there was a problem with the wheels. And they bought all the cars back, and apparently are fixing it, and they have started production again. So we'll have to wait and see. We haven't driven that car. Hey, Zach, loving my 2022 Outlander, but wondering if you think it's worth trading for a PHEV. Do you think the $10,000 price difference is worth it? Thanks, John. Well, one thing to keep in mind is if you're just talking without rebates, it's $10,000. I'm not sure on that, but if you're not factoring in the rebates, then you got to remember you're going to get, in Canada anyway, $5,000 off, and plus any provincial rebates. So the number between the two might actually be quite low. I would say, if you're going to get great money, your car is only 1 year old, and you know what's happening in the market right now. So if you can get the car at a good retail value, meaning you're going to get top dollar for your used car, and then if you can, this is a lot of ifs, if you can get the dealer to sell you the new PHEV at retail, meaning they're not marking it up, then the difference between the two might be less than you actually think. So you have to test the waters with your current 1 year old Outlander to see it was probably worth more than you paid for it new, just the way the market is right now. So the difference between the two might not be that great. I would say yes, it's going to be worth it, because as much as we like the Outlander, the design is great. I like the look of it. I think the interior is one of the best we've seen in years. It's not the most powerful vehicle on the road. It's a bit anemic, especially passing on the highway, all of those sorts of things. The electrified version is going to add, it does add technically more horsepower and torque. So it's going to give you that electric punch for those times when you need it. It is going to be a more drivable vehicle. Plus, you're going to spend way less on fuel. So if you can bridge that gap, it might be worth it for sure. But find out what the dealer's going to pay you for your new used 2022 model. Okay, we have another super chat. Love it. This is from Jeff. Which one top trims? Kia Seltos SX, that's the turbo. Subaru Crosstrek Limited with the 2.5-liter 4-cylinder. Kia has more features, less horsepower, less money. Crosstrek, better all-wheel drive, more horsepower, fewer features. Okay, so we've driven both of these recently. On paper, you might say, okay, the Crosstrek has more power. But in actual seat-of-your-pants driving, Seltos, hands down, is much more spirited to drive. Like, just hands down more spirited to drive. It's got the turbo engine, so the turbo effect is there. It is real. It's got a dual clutch transmission, so very crisp and precise shifts. So more dynamic in the drivetrain, for sure. Okay, and then you get into things like, oh, we missed it. More features, less horsepower. Yeah, so the Kia will have more stuff in it. What I suggest is you try and get your hands on one and drive one of each, and then see which one you like. There's a lot to like about both of these vehicles, but if you're looking for something with a bit more get up and go, it's definitely going to be the Seltos, okay? Okay, back to the top again. This is from Webb. Cool name. Hi, Zach. In terms of driving dynamics, is the Mazda 3 superior to the Civic? No. I would say they're different. The Civic and the Mazda 3 both are fun cars to drive. Civic continues with the independent rear suspension. The Mazda 3 went to a solid axle at the back, a torsion beam design, which works surprisingly well. The Mazda 3, you have the option to get the turbocharged engine. You do as well in the Civic, but it doesn't have as much torque and horsepower. The Civic is just a quite a bit bigger vehicle. You get a way bigger back seat. You get a way bigger trunk or hatch if you're looking at the hatchback model. I would say it's got a more modern interior. The Mazda, on the other hand, has maybe a more upscale. The materials themselves are more upscale, but I think that the Honda is more modern in its execution. If you had to ask me like that, I would say if I could get like the Civic Hatchback Sport, that's probably the one I would get. And I would get it with a manual. Well, that's just me. And that's the other thing is, if you're getting an automatic, the Mazda 3 definitely has an advantage because it's got the 6-speed automatic versus the continuously variable transmission in the Civic. So that might be the tiebreaker. That might be the one that decides it one way or the other for you. So there you go. Here's Philippe saying hello from Mexico. Andrea again saying thanks in advance. She's a Lexus fan. Whole family drives Lexus vehicles. Proud Toyota fans who upgraded to Lexus. Well, you know what? There's a huge loyalty in families when it comes to certain car brands. You probably know this. One of the hardest things to do is to get one family to move out of one pickup truck brand to another. As one auto exec told me, you need dynamite to get somebody to change from a Ford to a Chevy or from a Chevy to a Ram. And the same could be made for especially Toyota and Lexus. Once you've had good success with those brands, it's pretty hard to give them up. Edward Penny, hi Zach, just ordered a RAV4 hybrid. I was told a 1-year wait. I want a prime. They would not even take a reservation for one. This is the problem. Now, hopefully you have a vehicle that's going to hold you through until the new one arrives. And most people have cars that if they look after them and sometimes maybe have to put a few dollars into them, they're going to last. I think the RAV4 hybrid, in my opinion, I've said this many times, the RAV4 hybrid is the best vehicle on the road. And I'll run through the reasons why, again, because it's worth repeating. It's a compact crossover. That's what everybody wants. CR-V, RAV4, Ford Escape, that size of vehicle, that's what everybody buys. So it's got that going for it. Then it's not the most fuel efficient hybrid in that class, but it's very close to the most. The most efficient one is actually the Ford Escape, but the RAV4, very, very good on fuel. It has an excellent reliability with an asterisk next to it, an excellent reliability record, proving to be very reliable vehicles, killer resale value. And the number one reason, the price. In Canada, in the market I live in, it's $33,000. You get all of that for $33,000. Nothing can touch it. Now, the problem we have is in Quebec, there have been reports of what's called Cablegate. So the orange high-capacity cables that go from the battery to the hybrid system have been corroding. I heard a story that they are quietly going about fixing these, and they're going to have a fix for them, and it will be covered by Toyota. I would buy it today knowing that it's going to be fixed in the future. But yeah, just buckle up and wait for it to arrive. Zach, do you think the residual value of a brand new internal combustion engine car will suffer with the uptake of EVs? Elon Musk thinks so based on his third quarter earnings remarks. Well, I followed quite closely, and a lot of the analysts were not very impressed with Elon Musk and his comments. There was Automotive News I read and CNBC. They did a miss on certain levels. I'm trying to remember what they were, but anyway, they're still the dominant force when it comes to electrification, but they're starting to see demand waning because of the high costs. Like Tesla's, I think they put the price up 7 times this year for Teslas. Then you've got high interest rates, and then you've got people who are stretching. Like one of the things people don't realize about Tesla buyers is they're the most leveraged of many new car buyers. People really, really stretch to buy these cars. They're not really in the position, but they find the way to do it. So they're highly, highly leveraged, especially for those base model cars. I don't agree that internal combustion engines are going to be worth less. If you think about it, so right now, depending on which jurisdiction you're in, and also I live here on the west coast of Canada, and we have the highest fuel prices in North America. Shock of all shocks, we have one of the highest take rates for electric cars at about 12 or 13%. Because anybody that's filling their car up, it's in this market, it's like, why wouldn't you want to do that, right? Other jurisdictions, the take rate on electric cars is much smaller. Even at 10%, we'll say it isn't 10% nationally, and it certainly isn't in the United States. What's the average age of a used car in the U.S.? We'll use the U.S. because I know these numbers. It's 9 years. Okay, so even if we had 100% adoption, every new vehicle sold today was fully electric, it would take 9 to 10 years for that to trickle through the economy, for all those old cars to start coming off the road. We're not going to be getting rid of all of the internal combustion engine vehicles on the road. And then there's going to be people who want to keep them, because if jurisdictions say they're not allowed to sell you an internal combustion engine anymore, there will be some hoarding. Now, these are going to be more the desirable cars, like a Mustang GT or something like that. But I just don't see it. I just don't see people totally walking away from internal combustion engines, because the sales don't show that electric is dominating. We're just not there yet. It definitely, because of, and the biggest mover on electric car sales in the last year or so has been the high price of fuel. We have another super chat here. Current car is an ND2 Miata RF manual transmission in red, Lightning McQueen. That's what I called it in the video. My other car is a Mazda 6 manual transmission. That's a cool car. What manual transmission car would you buy? Leaning towards a CT4 Blackwing, oh my God, over an M3. Let's put that back up again. But haven't driven either. What about used? Well, the CT4 is a much rarer car. Like, I mean, where I live in Vancouver, M3s, there's loads of M3s. And they're available on in the marketplace. So you like your, I think if, listen, could you stretch to the CT5 Blackwing? That's the one you want. But much rarer. I think those cars, like the CT5 Blackwing, so few of them sold, manual transmission, they're just going to be highly collectible in the years to come. So I think it's cool. So you've got a manual transmission MX-5. You've got a Mazda 6, what I always used to call the greatest car nobody buys, the Mazda 6, and an M3. The thing is, if you can get a Cadillac, I would say the Cadillac is kind of cool. The M3, that's not hard to get, but the Blackwing is. I'm sure you have heard all about just how hard it is to get a Blackwing. Hello from Brisbane, Australia. Hey, nice to have you on board. That's cool. Thanks to your review, last year I bought a GV70 2.5 all-wheel drive luxury pack. After years of BMW X1s, great car. Well done. Thank you, David. Appreciate it. We did the GV70 3.5T, and we liked it. We just didn't like the price. And then we drove the 2.5, and we both said, it's absolutely the one you want to buy. The price is great, and I'm glad to hear that. So that's good feedback. The interesting thing is there is a new X1, and we heard that it's going to be arriving here for us to drive before the end of the year, so can't wait to drive it. Another super chat. I love what Genesis has done to shake up the market. For all the hype on YouTube media, I barely see them on the road. Will they catch up to other brands? This is what I notice as well. We give, and us and lots of other people give them incredible accolades because they are shaking things up, and to the point of David, the last super chat, bought one. You're just not seeing the penetration. I think it's because it's an immature network of sales, and I think that's the real thing that's holding them back. So the model in the Canadian market is a central fulfillment. So you order the car online, and then you get it fulfilled, or they bring it to you and do it in person. But what they need are bricks and mortars dealers. As much as, you know, Elon Musk has moved people towards buying online, really the bricks and mortar dealer experience is still the best way to get people to try your product, the best way for people to interact with your brand, and the best place to take it if there's any issues with it. Lots of stories about people waiting for months and months and months to get their Tesla fixed. Wouldn't it be great if there was many dealers? But I think that's what's holding Genesis back, is the dealer network issue. Here's Daniel here. Hey Daniel, thanks for the super chat. Got a Mach-E and it indeed blows on the knuckles. Okay, so when I did the video with Andrea, I made a big fuss around when you drive the car, the vents blow air on your hands. And everyone made fun of me because, oh, you're so sensitive. The problem is you push those vents away, they still blows cold air on your hands. So I found that annoying. Okay, let's read this again. And it does indeed blow on the knuckles, but I love it. Got MSRP after calling several dealers and finding a cancellation. Good for you. Many were charging 5,000 plus markup. Any news on Rivian in Canada? You both rock. Well, thank you. Appreciate that. Well, that's great. I think it's good. We've heard from people who have owned Mach-E's. They're very, very happy with them. So congratulations that you got it for MSRP. Well done. I say enjoy it in good health. It's a nice size vehicle. Interestingly, when we had the Mach-E, I did have some criticisms of it. And then we drove all the other SUV electric vehicles. They're not really SUVs. Like the Ioniq 5, it's really an SUV. They're marketing it as a crossover. Same with the EV6 and all of these other ones. And then we got the Mach-E back again about a year later, and I have a much different appreciation for it now that I've driven all the other ones. The Mach-E is very good. I specifically like the performance model with the magnetic ride control. It makes a marked difference in the way that it drives. My biggest complaint of the Mach-E was the bouncy rear suspension, but good, I'm glad you like it. So any news on Rivian in Canada? There are Rivians that are driving around Vancouver. They have an office here. So I don't know anything more than that, but I just know they are in market. So we'll have to wait and see what kind of distribution they have. I think is the biggest problem for all these small brands is distribution. When can we expect the next generation RAV4? So RAV4 was introduced in 19. So 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. I would say it's probably going to be in the next. They just did a mild facelift to it this year, so it'll be probably 2 years before we see a full new RAV4. Heard Toyota is cutting production. There is already crazy weights on the cars. The weights will get even bigger from Ontario. Yes, Toyota has signaled worldwide they're going to be reducing because of supply issues, the amount of cars that they can make. But as I mentioned earlier, we're starting to see some issues with demand for cars. So this week, in Canada, we're going to have our central bank putting up interest rates by as much as 3/4 of a point. Could be happening again in the US, and then they might pause for a little bit. But inflation is much stickier than they had hoped. So headline inflation has come down a little bit, but not much. So the central banks around the world, their job is not done. And the trickle-through effect of when interest rates go up to when we actually see the outcome, the ramifications of that can be anywhere from 12 to 18 months. So all of the lifting the bank is doing now is going to really affect our economy next year. So what I would say is I would predict that car companies are going to start being changing their mix of vehicles and changing how many they make in light of they're starting to see a slowdown in the world. So they're trying to manage the amount of inventory they have. Scott, one of our regular viewers, he has the Mustang GT. We featured his picture on the channel. He lives in North Carolina, I believe. Sent me a great article from Car and Driver this weekend, and it talks about this very problem. So if you have a chance, you can go and look that up on Car and Driver. All right, so let's move on. We have some super chats here. Oh, this is an emoji thing, which doesn't come up on this, but thank you for that. Hello, I have a heart. This is another super chat. Thank you very much. I have a hard choice between two plug-in hybrids, the X1 30e and Mercedes GLC. What is your advice? There's a 10,000 difference in budget where you have slightly bigger Mercedes and less expensive luxury X1. Okay, so I'm guessing because you did a super chat in euros, you're in the European market. I'm not sure that the GLC, even in the European market, has been released yet. So are you talking about the last, you can write below on this, the current model or the brand new GLC? So you're talking two different sizes and classes of vehicles. You're absolutely right. So the X1, in North American terms, we would call that a subcompact crossover, and then the GLC would be a compact. And if you're also talking about the all-new X1 that's just going to be arriving at dealers, so I'm a bit handicapped answering this question. Are you talking about the all-new X1 and the all-new GLC, or the previous X1 and the previous GLC? So that would be definitely help. But I would, for me, the range of the X1 is really not that good. It just isn't. I'm not sure what it is on the GLC because that vehicle, the plug-in, isn't sold here that I can remember. So that's the thing I remember of the X1 is the range is just not that great. But listen, if you just don't want to make the stretch of 10,000 more to get the GLC, then get the one that you can afford. Absolutely. Okay, there he is, brand new GLC. Okay, well that changes things because and the brand, they're both the new ones. Okay, here we go. They're both the new ones. I'm at a disadvantage. I have to be honest with you. The X1 and the new GLC have not arrived here in North America yet, so we haven't driven them. The new X1 looks fantastic. The new GLC does as well. So I apologize because I know you did a super chat, but I think my advice is going to probably be the same. The X1, the packaging on it is always been so good because it offers so much space in a small package. But how much range the new one has, I don't know yet. And same thing for the GLC. So if you're okay with the X1 and the size, that's probably the one you would want to get. But we can't wait to drive them both. I mean, the GLC and the X1. The X1, as I mentioned, is supposed to be coming here before the end of the year, and the GLC probably sometime early in the new year. So can't wait to drive them. That's the core of the market for those two brands for sure. More the X3, but the X1 is huge business for BMW. Okay, I'm going to go back up to the top again. All right, here we go. Sorry about this. I always do this. I get to the bottom with the super chats. Sorry about this. I got to find out where I was. Now here we go. Billy Rock. Is it better to have an e-bike than a car today? Have both. E-bikes aren't expensive. Well, they're not cheap, but have both. Mazda 3 manual or Mazda 3 turbo? I would. You know what? We were kind of firmly in the turbo camp. By the way, I don't think the turbo is available with a manual. It's only available with the automatic. The Mazda 3 2.5 naturally aspirated is fantastic. That's probably the one I'd get. So we were all about the turbo, and then we got a regular Mazda 3 without the turbo, and we were both pleasantly surprised with it. I want a BMW X5 or Mercedes GLC. Which one do you think is better? Back to my point a moment ago. There is a brand new GLC just about to enter the marketplace. Are you referring to the brand new one or the current one? The current one is the fact it's been in the market for, I think, 7 years. It still holds up. It's still a good product. It still has a nice interior. The infotainment system is being upgraded as they've gone along. They're both fine. But the thing is, the X5 comes with the beautiful inline six-cylinder engine. It's a much bigger vehicle. It's more substantial. If you need that size, that might be the one to get. Do city folks still buy cars? The gas prices are insane now. Yes, people still buy cars. Kia seems great new, but can't find positive reviews on anything older. Well, I tell you what to do, Joe, is go. We just put out the Kia Soul video yesterday, and read the comments. There's several people that have owned 2 or 3 of that particular model, and they all had glowing things to say about it. So there you go. Zach, do you think of Hyundai Kia $2 billion loss in Q3 due to recalls? It seems that it'd be on a real well. Okay, yeah. So they did announce that they're holding back $2 billion towards recalls, and this is something that this company and these brands are going to have to get a handle on, because there's nothing worse than having a reputation for having engine trouble. Like, it just isn't good. So yes, they have issues around some of their engines still, and they're holding back $2 billion to work on that, which I think is good. But yeah, it's just something that, we review these cars new, and we're always going on about how much we enjoy driving Hyundai and Kia and Genesis products, and we do. As somebody who drives like 100 different cars a year, when you get in their products, they are in many ways head and shoulders above the competition, especially in features, materials, trim, design, all those sorts of things. They do incredibly well. And then we talk about that in the video, and we say we really like this product, and then like, sure enough, like a week later, there's some kind of recall, and we're like, oh God, we have no way of knowing, and we have no way of judging a vehicle other than the fact that it's a brand new car. So, it's something they're going to have to work on for sure. Wife doesn't want an electric, trying to find a Santa Fe Limited Hybrid, Tucson Limited Hybrid, or Genesis GV70, but no avail in the Seattle area. Any other suggestions? Well, you could also look at the Kia versions of those. So for the Tucson, it would be the, and you're in the U.S., Sportage. And by the way, I think that is a fantastic product, the hybrid. Yeah, I don't know what to suggest. You can go back to the usual suspects, like try and get a Toyota RAV4 hybrid, but good luck with that. They're hard to find. Hyundai, Kia, Genesis, if you're looking for a hybrid or a plug-in unit, are the ones that you're going to sort of gravitate towards. You might be able to get like a Volvo XC60 plug-in. Might be kicking around. There might be some at the dealer, so maybe that's one worth checking out. Don't love Volvos that as much as I like some other cars, but that's one you might want to consider. Also, BMW has the X3 as a plug-in hybrid. And it's a great product. The X3 is a fantastic product, so that is available as a plug-in. I read a guy who bought a Kia EV and his battery replacement is $20,000. Do EVs still make sense? Well, if it's a 2019 Kia EV, the car is still under warranty. So I don't understand. That just doesn't make sense. I mean, Hyundai and Kia have a 5-year warranty, and then their battery is warranted up to 8 years. So I don't believe that. I'm not saying I don't believe you, but I just don't believe that. Harpreet's here. Hey, Harpreet, nice to see you. This is Ned from Aiken, South Carolina. Nice to have you on board. Why is RAV4 Prime delivery over a year? Just basic supply and demand. There's more people want it than they have available. And if you could get a RAV4 Prime in a year, that would be fantastic. We're hearing 2 to 3 years. Here's Danielle. Greetings from the Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia. I have driven the Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia, and absolutely spectacular. So, off the top, this was several years ago, we did Tail of the Dragon, the Blue Ridge Mountains, the Smoky Mountains, any other mountains I'm missing in that area. We did this 3 or 4 day tour all around that area, and the scenery is spectacular. The roads are second to none. Yeah, just absolutely gorgeous part of the world. Love your show. What's the next vehicle or vehicles you're looking forward to getting and reviewing? Well, we heard there might just be an electrified pickup truck coming our way soon, so we're looking forward to driving that. The Q4 that we're getting this week, we've been waiting and waiting to get that, and thankfully, once again, shout out to Audi Downtown Vancouver for getting us that. We're going to have that this week, so very excited about that. We are going to drive the Kia Niro in a few weeks in California. Excited about that. Andrew and I will be at the LA Auto Show, which is fun. So there's lots of stuff coming up. It never ends. All right, let's go down to the bottom here. I think we have some more super chats. What do you think of a used 2018 Mercedes E400 W213 versus the 16 E400 W212 as a used car and driving dynamics? Thanks. So you're talking about a 18 Mercedes E-Class versus a 16. They're not going to be much different, to be honest with you. I wouldn't drive them both and take the one you like better. Most of it's going to be in interior. You're going to notice the biggest change from what I remember with the in-dash stuff. But in terms of driving dynamics, I doubt there would be much difference. Here's James, tripping with Dumas. Thanks, Zach and Andrea. You've accumulated a great group of people that regularly watch these live streams, and I'd like to thank them as well. That's very nice of you. Oh, by the way, if you're just joining us now, we are going to have our Questions, Coffee, and Cars segment this week. Andrew and I are going to record it tomorrow, so it'll be coming out later in the week. So that's fun, where we both sit in the car and answer your questions. So she's got the post up right now on Instagram. If you haven't seen it on Instagram, it's motormouth_Andrea. You can get your questions in there. We're going to do that tomorrow. Okay. All right, we have 431 people on board. That's a nice number tonight. So thank you for being here. We have 142 thumbs up. So if you guys could smash the thumbs up, that would be really helpful. Apparently it helps. So that's really cool. Appreciate that. And thanks for all the super chats tonight. It's been very helpful. Here's Evan from New York. Nice to see you, Evan. I hope you get a hold of the new Kia Niro Hybrid. Looks very promising. We're going to be going to California to drive that in a couple of weeks, along with the full electric one, and they're going to have the PHEV there as well. So yeah, really looking forward to it. With cars rated at 300,000 kilometers and 400,000 for a Toyota Honda, is it better to keep a vehicle for 30 years? No, I think it's a real commitment to keep a car that long. The average age of a car going to the wreckers now has those kinds of numbers, 300,000 to 400,000 kilometers. A car that is well maintained should run really indefinitely. If you can maintain a car well and look after it, you can keep a car running pretty much indefinitely. But most people just get bored after 10 years. Hi, Zach. Always look forward to the show and you and Andrea's reviews. Great work. Do you know if there will be a 2023 Chevrolet Bolt? Yes, there is. The Bolt is sticking around. Hi, Zach. With the overprice of RAV4 hybrids and Venzas, looks like a better to go with the Lexus NX hybrid, since Lexus dealers are more serious with their prices, no overcharges. Well, that's good. I think if you can get an NX 350H, it's fantastic. It has the larger electric motor. It has the electric motor from the RX, and they put it in the NX. So it's a more fun vehicle to drive than the RAV4 hybrid. It's quieter, it has better tech in the dash, it's got nicer interior, and is a little bit smaller. It's based on the same platform, but just the packaging is a little bit smaller. So yeah, I mean, if you can make the stretch to go for the Lexus, you'll be very happy with it. Congratulations. Daniel, wrist check. Also, you and Andrea have a great rhythm going and make it look effortless. Lots of hard work behind the scenes. Yeah, but thank you, appreciate that. So I am wearing my first luxury watch that I bought. I had a 911, an air-cooled 993, a Carrera S, a really beautiful car, a 1997 Carrera S in arena red. And when I sold it, I said to Andrea, I'm going to keep some of the money and buy a Rolex. And she said, go for it, because that's why Andrea is so great. And then I bought this. And I have it on a like a NATO-style strap. But this was the first sort of luxury watch that I ever bought. And that was 2008 or 9, I think it was. Yeah. Now I got lots of watches. That's a sickness. And hit the like button, everyone. Yeah, appreciate that. So we have 424 on, 225 thumbs up. Thanks to you guys. JC Cop. Any word on whether the TLX Type S PMC edition will be available in Canada? I don't know about that one. What I would do is I would get in touch with your dealer. Not sure if that one is coming here. I would suspect that if it's sold, it would be available here. But just check with the accurate dealer. Thoughts on the Washington Capitals? My opinion, they are the Porsche Macan of hockey teams. Also, I'm not convinced Saskatchewan is a real place. Name is too silly. Well, Saskatchewan is a big place, and it is flat, and superb people, good football club. But yeah, Saskatchewan, those are good people there. I don't really have any thoughts on the Washington Capitals. You know why? Because all we're talking about in Vancouver is just how bad the Canucks suck this year. They have not won a game. It was so bad they lost. They lost yesterday to the Sabres, and people were throwing their jerseys on the ice and booing them at the end. Like, that's bad. This is a hockey crazy market, so we're all about the Canucks around here. Wristwatch check. We did that one already. When do you drive the ID Buzz? Don't know the timing on that one. There is a video I did driving the original prototype in California several years ago. But yeah, don't know the timing on that. Recently learned I can order an NX350H. What's the point of the online configurator? Love your reviews 8 months ago and really won. I guess you got one. What's the point of the online configurator? Well, I think it just gives you an example. I don't think these things are locked in stone of what, the features are. The packages are all predetermined, the pricing on them. So if you want this package and that package, you can add them all up and just see kind of what you're looking at in terms of price. That's why they do it. But yeah, I'm a big fan of the Lexus hybrid for sure. The NX 350H is the one of the NX I would buy. When do you do the 2023 Corolla Hybrid review? Well, we're waiting for the new models to arrive. They're retiring a current Corolla right now, which is the Apex Edition with a manual transmission. It's the last of the manuals. So if you're not aware, Corolla no longer, unless you get the GR hot hatch version, is going to be sold with a manual. So I'm wondering if you're thinking about the Corolla Cross. We're hearing it's going to be early next year that the Corolla Cross will be coming. So probably early next year for the Corolla Hybrid. We'll get to them when we can. That's a nice comment here. Congrats on 250,000 subscribers. Cars, questions, and champagne this time. I like that idea, except you can't be drinking in the car. That's a big no-no. The last time I bought a new car, Clinton was president. Saved a fortune. All right. Buying a pre-owned BMW. Wait a second. It's got to come up here. Buying a pre-owned BMW 330 2008 would be a good idea. My advice always when buying a used German sedan car, whatever, make sure you get it inspected. So it's called a pre-purchase inspection. You need to know the state of the car, and it's a 2018, so it's probably just come out of its regular 4-year warranty. You also want to buy it from a dealer that will offer you what's called a certified pre-owned warranty. So there's two things you want is a PPI, pre-purchase inspection, and CPO is certified pre-owned warranty. So you're going to get an extra 2 years warranty on the car, and then you want to get it inspected. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with the 330, but I just want you to know that these are high-end cars, and if they need maintenance, it can be expensive. So please be protected as best you can. Get the car inspected, and hopefully keep it under warranty for 2 more years. But they're fine cars. They're nice cars to drive. Any information on the Honda Accord 2023 2-liter turbo release date, and will you be testing one? Thanks. Yeah, I'm sure we'll get to it eventually. It's not high on our list of cars to drive. I would talk to the dealer. They'll know when the allotment, the factory, all of that stuff. I don't know all the different run times of when cars are arriving for each individual trim and brand, but contact the dealer and say, when are you getting your 2023s? What do you think of Volvo wagons? I love Volvo wagons for their design. I think that they're beautiful cars. I love the V90. Is it the V90? Yeah. First time I saw it was at the Detroit Auto Show. It had these big, huge wheels that were kind of like this gray with a bright blue, and I was like, oh man, that looks good. I'm just not a huge fan of Volvo. How can I put this? I don't find them as reliable as I would like. I don't like their infotainment system at all. So I like the way they drive, and I like the way they look. There's just things about them I'm not a huge fan of. Between the Sport and the RTL trim of the Honda Ridgeline 2022, which would you recommend? The Honda Ridgeline. So that's the special sort of off-roady kind of one. I think it comes down to the one that you can get. I said as soon as the Maverick came out and as soon as the Santa Cruz came out just after it, these two small pickup truck, unibody design pickup trucks are the best advertisement for the Ridgeline. So people start looking at a Maverick, they start looking at the Santa Cruz from Hyundai, and then they go, wait a second, there's another unibody, SUV-based pickup truck, and it's made by Honda. It has a bigger engine, 3.5 liters. It's got way more space. It's got the same, rear seat legroom as a Honda Pilot, and it's got a bigger bed, and it's more capable. I'm a fan of the Ridgeline, especially the second generation one that came out a couple years ago. So I think that one you're talking about is the sort of off-road package one. I'm not sure how much extra capacity it has for doing anything. It might just be I don't know the trim, to be honest with you. But get the one you can get. That's the biggest thing with cars these days. I'm interested in the new Accord also. A little worried it's just going to be bigger Honda Civic. Oh, so I see what you're saying of the updated Honda Accord. Yeah, I don't know. It might be happening at the LA Auto Show. We'll have to wait and see. Does the price of a used car actually drop significantly after 100,000 kilometers? It is a mental hurdle. And it's kind of interesting because the mental hurdle is 100,000 miles in the United States. And we have it as kilometers in Canada. And the interesting thing is it's quite a big difference in the amount of distance driven. 100,000 kilometers versus 100,000 miles. That's 160,000 kilometers. But there's some psychological thing that happens once the car clicks over 100,000 kilometers or 100,000 miles. It's just not worth as much in the marketplace. And there are some reasons for that. For example, most cars that have a timing belt, front-wheel drive cars that have a timing belt, often need that replaced, and it's a bigger maintenance item to do right around 100,000 kilometers. So it's something that psychologically people start to say it's getting old. But the interesting thing is in the US it's in miles and in Canada it's in kilometers, but it's really quite a big difference. But it is something that happens. People psychologically think that the car is getting older now because it goes over that amount. Okay, here's Jerome, who's been missing in action. He was in Europe and Africa visiting Morocco, and he went to Portugal and other places. He was gone for weeks, so he's back. So it's good to have you back. Jerome from Quebec, nice to have you on the show. Appreciate that. All right, let's go up here. Who else did we miss? Another super chat. This is from Lou. I recently purchased the 2022 BMW X5 45e PHEV. I was put back on your video on the car as you seem to be negative on the model still. No, I'm not negative on the BMW X5. I'm a huge fan of the X5. In fact, I think of that competitive set, the X5 really is the one to beat. I'm down on the range. The range is pathetic, and you're always plugging it in. Now, I get it. You can average down your average overall fuel consumption throughout the year. The problem with the X5 hybrid, or the plug-in hybrid, is once you come off the electrified part, it's inefficient. It's actually less efficient than if you just had the gas model. And then you're always plugging it in because the range is so so low. So that's my only issue with the car is I wish it had, 50 or 60 kilometers of range and not like 30 or whatever it is off the top of my head. It's right around there. So you burn through that range so fast. And then when you're out of that range, you're actually using more gas than if you had just had the regular gas model. So I like the product. I like the way it drives. I'm a big fan of the X5. It just needs more range. Because if it had more range, then it would really make a big difference. Here's Troy. Is the new M5 worth the money? My problem with the M5, and I haven't driven the new M5, so I'm not going to say how it drives, is the cars are getting too big. The 5 Series is like a 7 Series from 20 years ago. So that's my problem. They're all getting too big. The M3, that is just a spectacular car, which kind of reminds me of the old M5, right? Not the V8, but the old inline 6. Diesel fuel going non-petroleum. Diesel fuel going non-petroleum. I'm not sure what that means. But thanks for the super chat. Same thing. People have been saying, oh, you have a diesel, and diesel right now, at this time in history, is much more expensive than regular gas. But the same thing again. You have to average out your cost of ownership over the time you have the vehicle. So in our case, we've had our diesel for 4.5 years. Well, for the first 3+ years, diesel was, in where we live, cheaper, and it goes about 30% farther. So and that's against regular fuel. And then when you add in, if we had the same car with gasoline, it would be premium gas, so it would be even higher. So our cost of ownership over the time has been much less than if we had had the gasoline equivalent. Now, right now, we're paying through the nose for diesel, and it's eating into that savings, but the savings is still being better with diesel over the long run. And this too will pass, right? We're going to get some equalization when it comes to fuel, whether it's gas, premium, jet fuel, heating oil, all those sorts of things will start to even out again. This is not going to be this way forever. So I look at it as the long term. What did I pay for fuel over the entire duration of the vehicle? And in our case with a diesel, still getting ahead. All right, I've gone over an hour. Well, you look at that. 440 people on board, 268 thumbs up. So if you guys could smash that up before you guys leave, we're all done. Don't forget that we have questions, coffee, and cars this week. We have the Maverick, the Ford Maverick EcoBoost video coming out in the middle of the week. And then at the end of the week, we're pretty excited. We're getting the Audi Q4 e-tron. Thanks again to Audi Downtown Vancouver for getting us that car. And if you want to get a picture in for next week's show, just trying to think, we are going to be here. There's 1 week coming up where we might be away, but next week we'll be back. Zach@motormouth.ca is the email to get your picture in. ZACK@motormouth.ca or ZACK@motormouth.ca. So thanks to everybody for being here. Appreciate it. We'll chat with you next time. Have a great rest of your weekend. Bye now.